is entrepreneurship and communication. And we are looking at the communication part of it. And today we are going to look at meetings. We are going to look at meetings. And when we talk about meetings, we start by defining what is meetings. So we are going to define what is meetings. The word meeting simply means, coming together of more than one person. Meetings is coming together of more than one person, with the intention to carry out business, So this is coming together of more than one person with the intention to carry out business. This was in the case of Sharp versus Dose. So this was defined as coming together of more than one person with the intention to carry out business. So when more than one person come together to carry out business, that's what we call meetings. Now we need to know, for meeting to be valid, we call it essentials or requirements of a valid meeting, So what are the essentials or requirements of a valid meeting? For a meeting to be said to be valid, what are the requirements? One, there must be a proper person to be the chair. So when we shall be looking at the proper person to be the chair, we are going to discuss what are the responsibilities of the chairman. Another essential requirements of a valid meeting, is proper notice. There must be a notice. So when you shall be looking at proper notice, we are going to discuss the requirements of the notice, the contents of the notice. And then after the proper notice, we're also going to look at quorum. There must be a requisite quorum. And what is a quorum? A quorum simply means the minimum number of persons who are qualified to be in that meeting, who must be present. So they are qualified to be in that meeting. So we shall be looking at requisite quorum. And then we're also going to talk about proper convening authority. Usually in proper convening authority, the meetings can be convened by the chairman. They can also be convened by the courts. They can also be convened by the directors. So there must be a proper convening authority. And another essential is minutes. And minutes are concise and brief records of the proceedings of the meeting. Concise and brief records of the proceedings of the minutes. So let's start with number one, which is proper person to be the chair. And we've said that this is now the chairman. And at this level, we only need to know roles or responsibilities of the chairman. Let's please see what are the roles of the chairman in a meeting. Definitely, he's the one to keep order in the meeting, to maintain order in the meeting. Then secondly, he's also the one to ensure there is quorum. In the meeting. Then he's also the one to ensure that he or she provides opportunity to the participants to give contributions in the meeting, So he's the one to give opportunity to the participants to give contributions in the meeting. What are the other roles? Other roles is to ensure, to conduct voting by show of hands or poll, to conduct voting by show of hands, by show of hands or poll, and then to ensure that only persons who are entitled to attend the meeting are present, to ensure that only persons who are entitled to attend the meeting, are present, to ensure that only persons who are entitled to attend the meeting are present. Only persons who are entitled to attend the meeting are present. And looking at more roles of the chairman, we are looking at the roles of the chairman. We are proceeding on to look at the roles of the chairman. And you say that he also has to ensure that only persons who are supposed to attend the meetings are present. Then to frame issues for discussion during the meeting, frame issues for discussion during the meeting, to frame issues for discussion during the meeting, to frame issues for discussion during the meeting, to sign minutes of the meeting of the previous meeting, to sign minutes of the previous meeting, to sign minutes of the previous meeting. After confirmation, to sign minutes of the previous meeting after confirmation. So those are the roles of the chairman. So then we also need to have a proper notice. And when we talk about a proper notice, here we are saying, what should the proper notice contain? So that's what we are going to discuss next. Proper notice, that's what we are going to discuss next. And when we talk about notice, the examiner will also ask you the notice of the meeting. You need to know contents of the notice. And it contains what? It contains the date of the meeting, time of the meeting. It also contains the venue of the meeting. It also contains the agenda of the meeting. So the agenda to be discussed during the meeting, it contains the agenda to be discussed during the meeting. It also contains the following. We are looking at the contents of the notice. We are looking at the contents of the notice of the meeting. And then it also, so we said type of the meeting, of the meeting, type of the meeting, and you've also said the venue of the meeting as well as the agenda. Entitlement to notice. Who are entitled? Entitlement to notice of meeting. Who are entitled to notice, especially when you talk about company meetings. We are going to look at the classification of meetings. Who are entitled to notice of the meeting? One, we have the directors of the company. We have the shareholders or members, shareholders or members. We have the auditor of the company. We have the auditor of the company. We also have the personal representative and personal representative. And when you talk about personal representative, if a person in a company has died, then you serve the notice to his personal representative. This is what in the layman's language, we refer to the next of kin of a person who has died, next of kin of a person who has died. That's the one we call. And then we also have the trustee in bankruptcy. Trustee in bankruptcy. If somebody has become bankrupt, the notice should be served. The notice should be served to his trustee in bankruptcy. Then something else that you should also know about the notice is the way the service of notice, or how should you be provided? How can that notice be given to you? How is it served to the members? How do you think it's served to the members? It can be served personally. So it can be served personally to members. We can serve that notice personally to members. We can give that notice personally to members. It can also be sent through registered post, So if you've given us your post address, the registered post, we can send it to you through the registered post that you have given us. It can also be served electronically. What do we mean by electronically? It can be served through emails. It can be served through website. It can be served through WhatsApp. We can send to you the notice on WhatsApp. That is service through electronic means. We can also serve through print media. We can serve the notice through print media. Among other means. So we said we can serve it personally to members, we can serve it through registered post, we can serve it electronically, and we can also serve it through print media. So those are the issues that you should understand in regard to notice. Those are the issues that you should understand in regard to notice. We are going to proceed to the next, which is requisite quorum. And what do we mean by quorum? Quorum simply means the minimum number of persons who are entitled to attend the meeting. The minimum number of persons who are entitled to attend the minimum number of persons who must be present for the meeting to be valid. So let's define the word quorum. Minimum number of persons who must be present and who must be present for the meeting to be valid. Who must be present for the meeting to be valid? Who must be present for the meeting to be valid? Only persons who are entitled to attend the meeting are counted. So we only count the persons who are entitled to attend that meeting. We don't count everyone. We only count those ones who are entitled to attend the meeting. And then it is the role of the chair. It is the role of the chair to determine whether the quorum is present, to determine whether the quorum is present, to determine whether the quorum is present. So the chairman is the one who determines the quorum is present. Should be determined at the start of the meeting. It should be determined at the start of the meeting. It should be determined at the start of the meeting. It should be determined at the start of the meeting. I would also like us to write the following terms. One, there is mastering quorum terms. Mastering quorum, what does it mean? Mastering quorum means ensuring that there is quorum, ensuring there is quorum at the start of the meeting, ensuring there is quorum at the start of the meeting. And another term that you should know is maintaining quorum, And what it means by maintaining quorum, ensuring that there is a quorum throughout the meeting, ensuring there is quorum throughout the meeting, ensuring there is quorum throughout the meeting. So that's all about requisite quorum. And we are now going to proceed to look at the proper convening authority. When we talk about the proper convening authority, not everybody who has the authority to convene the meeting. The meeting must have the proper convening authority. So when we talk about the proper convening authority, the meeting can be convened by the following. The general rule is that the proper convening authority is the board of directors. So the board of directors for company meetings, the proper convening authority is the board of directors, The board of directors. However, other persons who can also convene the meetings include the following. Other proper convening authorities are the following. Other proper convening authority are the following. Who else can convene a meeting? Are the following. Let's see others who can convene a meeting and the meeting is valid. The court. The court can convene the meeting. If I go to court to petition that directors have refused to convene the meeting and the court convenes, that meeting is valid. Two, the registrar of companies. Registrar of companies can also convene the meeting. Who else can convene the meeting? We also have, if the directors have refused to convene, the members themselves can request. The company to convene. For instance, when we talk of extraordinary general meeting, we are going to look at the types of meetings. And if they refuse, the Company Act 2015 gives them the authority to convene that meeting. So they are called requisitionists. If directors refuse to convene the meeting, So we've said now the proper convening, and this question, meetings, who is entitled even to attend the meeting, for instance? Who are entitled to attend the meeting? yes, who are entitled to attend the meeting. We're going to look at that. But then if you look at the who is entitled to notice of the meeting, if you've been entitled to notice of the meeting, it means that you are entitled to attend the meeting, because there's no way you're going to get a notice of the meeting and yet you don't qualify to attend the meeting. Consequently, where we wrote no entitlement to notice of the meeting, you can write stroke and who are entitled to attend the meeting, who are entitled to attend the meeting, who are entitled to attend the meeting. So those people that we said are entitled to attend the meeting are the ones who are entitled, those ones we said are entitled to notice of the meeting are the ones that are entitled to notice of the meeting. We proceed on to look at the next essential or requirement of a valid meeting. The next essential or requirement of a valid meeting is minutes. The next essential or requirement of a valid meeting is minutes. And when we talk about minutes, the definition of the term minutes, these are records. These are records of the proceedings of the meeting, of the proceedings of the meeting, of the proceedings of the meeting. Characteristics of good minutes. Characteristics of good minutes. Characteristics of good minutes. So when you talk about characteristics of good minutes, what are the characteristics of good minutes? One, brief and concise. Brief and concise. Brief and concise. Two, only captures resolutions actively passed. Only captures resolutions actively passed. Only captures resolutions actively passed. And that's why in minutes you don't write that members did not agree. You only say you only capture what the members agreed. Is that okay? You say what was resolved in the meeting. You don't write that members did not agree. So you only say members resolved, members agreed. Written in past tense. Written in past tense. Written in past tense. It's not written in present tense. Written in past tense. Which other characteristic? Accurate and correct. Accurate and correct. Accurate and correct. And then they should be signed by the chairman. Signed by the chairman as true records. As true records of the previous meeting. Of the previous meeting. So signed by the chairman as true records of the previous meeting. We are still looking at the roles. We are still looking at the minutes. And you said those are some of the characteristics of good minutes. What are the contents? Contents of minutes. Contents of minutes. What should it contain? One, it should capture we should capture the date. You remember the contents of the notice? It should capture all those details. Date, venue, date, time. We start with the time and venue of the meeting. And the venue of the meeting. It should capture the date, time, and venue of the meeting. It should also capture the members present, apologies sent, and members absent, It should also capture the resolutions actively passed, resolutions actively passed. It should also capture matters arising. It should also capture matters arising. It should also capture matters arising. It should also capture the Any other business. Any other business. You remember, I'm so sure you did this in high school about the structure of minutes, and you even used to write them. Any other business. It should also capture the signature of the chair, signature of the chairman, signature of the chair, who signs the minutes as proper. That is signing as proper as the true records of the previous meeting, true records of the previous meeting. I would like us to go on to look at types of meetings. Types of meetings. Types of meetings. We are going to look at the types of meetings. Types of meetings. And when you talk about meetings, there are so many types of meetings. So many types of meetings. We have even the staff meeting in the workplace. We have staff meeting, we have company meetings, we have the committee meetings. So we are going to classify them under several categories. So we write a subtopic, types of meetings. The topic is still meetings. The topic is still meetings. So when we talk about types of meetings, when we talk about types of meetings, we are going to talk about several kinds of meetings, but then we shall classify them. Note that you need to know that there are those meetings that are particularly for companies. We are going to look at types of company meetings, but there are those meetings are in general, there are so several types of meetings, informal meetings. Sometimes we have startup meetings. Startup meetings is when we have, for instance, in the workplace, you are called upon by the manager and you're given some responsibilities. This is what you're going to do, ABCD. It's so quick, taking 10 minutes or less. So let's look at the types of types of meetings. One, we have business meetings. Business meetings. And when we talk about business meetings, you are meeting up with the client, meeting with the clients, meeting with the clients, meeting with the customers, meeting with the clients, meeting with the customers. So here you're going even to make PowerPoint presentations. You're trying to win that customer. Is that true? Then the second kind of meetings, we have staff meetings. Staff meetings. We have staff meetings. And when it comes to staff meetings, the purpose of staff meetings is to take instructions, training, share ideas, and information, etc., etc. Then we also have the third kind of meeting. We have team building meetings. And when it comes to team building meetings, they are used to share ideas, resolve conflicts, achieve cohesion among the team, And then we also have project team meetings, project team meetings. We have project team meetings. We also have startup meetings. So these are very brief meetings. Now I'm going to also talk about company meetings. And which types of company meetings do we have? When you talk about company meetings, for instance, we have a meeting that is held by the company once a year. It's called annual general meetings. They are also called, you can also put them as types of meetings. There is nothing wrong. For instance, we have company meetings. We have annual general meetings, annual general meetings. We have meetings of the board, board meetings, board meetings, board meetings. And we also have, if a given class of shareholders, are having a meeting. For instance, we have the ordinary shareholders meeting. We call them class meetings. Class meetings. These are meetings of a given class, of a given class of shareholders, And we said board meetings, this is meeting of the board of directors. This is meeting of board of directors, And annual general meeting, meeting of shareholders held once a year, meeting of shareholders held once a year, And then we also have creditors meetings, meetings of creditors of a company, meeting of creditors of a company, during the winding up, during liquidation or during winding up, So during liquidation or during winding up, the directors, the creditors meet to discuss their interests. We also have extraordinary general meeting, extraordinary general meeting. And when you talk about extraordinary general meeting, it's the meeting of shareholders to discuss a special business between one AGM and the other. Are we together? It doesn't mean that shareholders can only meet once a year. Shareholders may also want to meet between one AGM and the other to discuss what? Special business. So meeting of shareholders, between one AGM and the other, between one AGM and the other, to discuss special business, So between one AGM and the other, shareholders will meet so that they can be able to discuss special business. That's what we call extraordinary general meeting. So these are the types of meetings of the company. Those are the types of meetings of the company. And another one is statutory meeting. And when you talk about statutory meeting, is meeting held once in the lifetime of a company, meetings held once in the lifetime of a company, It is held between 1 to 3 months after incorporation. Only held by, so I think I'm not going to take you into those details. We are going to study more in this in company law, that is in CPA section 3. However, you can also note that the purpose is to discuss statutory report. The purpose is to discuss statutory report. The purpose is to discuss statutory report. So the purpose is to discuss statutory report. The purpose is to discuss statutory report. So we've been able to know types of meetings of a company. We've been able to understand types of meetings of a company. Now, I'm going to look at a question of some past paper questions that have been tested in regard to meetings. And we've discussed types of meetings. We've discussed essentials or requirements of a valid meeting. And note, whatever we've discussed as the essentials or requirements of a valid meeting, that's a question that was tested in November 2017, question 7B. November 2017, question 7B. I want us to look at November 2015, question 7B. The question is reasons why organizations hold meetings. So write down reasons why organizations hold meetings. Reasons why organizations hold meetings. Reasons why organizations hold. Why do they hold meetings? Reasons why organizations hold meetings. So let's see. One is to make and ratify decisions. Make and ratify decisions. Make and ratify decisions. Which are these decisions? For instance, AGM is held. We can write e.g. AGM is held to A, declare dividend. So you want to ratify the decision of declaring what? Dividend. Sindio? To appoint auditors, for instance, appoint auditors. That's another reason for AGM. Elect directors. Approve accounts. So those are some of the decisions that we make in regard to meetings, to make and ratify decisions, Number two, exchange opinions and make recommendations. Exchange opinions and make recommendations. Exchange opinions and make recommendations. Exchange opinions and make recommendations is another reason why people do meetings. 3 is to strategy, to formulate strategy. And another reason why people meet is the presentation of annual accounts to shareholders. Presentation of annual accounts to shareholders. Indeed, if you give out even these ones as the reasons why people meet, you're okay. Is it together? Even approval of accounts. Another reason is election of officials. Election of officials, e.g. directors, auditors, etc. Election of officials, e.g. directors and auditors, among others. Election of officials. For instance, we have directors and auditors. So those are some of the reasons, even to exchange ideas, to exchange opinions and ideas, and even to give updates. We can also write that one, to update shareholders, to update members, stroke shareholders, to update members, stroke shareholders, to update members, stroke shareholders. So those are some of the reasons. Then we move on to look at a question that was in November 2018, question 6C, documents that should be used in meetings. Documents that should be used in meetings. So let's discuss documents that should be used in meetings. So we are looking at the past paper questions, documents that should be used in meetings. So let's discuss the documents that must be present in meetings. So documents that should be used, that are used in meetings. So documents that are used in meetings. So let's see. One, we have the notice. We have the notice. It must be there. Notice of the meeting, notice of the meeting, notice of the meeting. Two, we also need the agenda of the meeting, agenda of the meeting, agenda of the meeting. We also need the attendance register. This is what the chairman will use, attendance register. The chairman will use the attendance register to determine whether there's quorum or not. He's going to use the attendance register. We also need the previous minutes so that they are read out. We have the previous minutes. They should be read out so that to determine whether to confirm whether they are true records of the previous meeting, whether they are true records of the previous meeting. So those are some of the documents. You also need, what else do we need during this meeting? What else do we need? The attendance register and even the register of members. Those are two different things. To confirm whether you're entitled to attend the meeting, register of members, register of members, register of members. We also need the register of members during that meeting. Then let's also look at a question that was there in May 2018, question 6B, rules that should be observed during meetings. Rules or protocols, rules or protocols to be observed during meetings, to be observed during meetings. Rules or protocols that should be observed during meetings. And one of the rules is that rules or protocols to be observed during meetings. And I would feel that the examiner wanted you to understand whether you have some knowledge in regard to essentials of a valid meeting. So one of the rules or protocol is to ensure there must be a quorum. There must be a quorum. There must be a quorum. Two is that proper minutes should be kept. 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 And number three is that the chair should control the proceedings of the meeting, the chair should control the proceedings of the meeting. And then another rule is that agenda should be followed. Agenda should be followed. Agenda should be followed. We should follow the agenda. And then we should establishing ground rules. Establishing ground rules. Establishing ground rules. So that's okay. Then let's look at another question that was in May 2017, question 7C, and it tests purpose of the agenda. Purpose of the agenda. Purpose of the agenda. So we are looking at the purpose of the agenda. Why do we need an agenda? And maybe you also need to know what's agenda. This is the order of business of the meeting. So one, agenda, we said, this is the order. This is the order of business. This is the order of business in the meeting. This is the order of business in the meeting. So that's what we call agenda. And what is the purpose? Purpose of agenda. When you talk about the purpose of agenda, what is the purpose of agenda? What is the purpose of having an agenda in the meeting? One is that helps in maintaining order in the meeting, helps in maintaining order, helps in maintaining order in the meeting, order in the meeting, helps in maintaining order in the meeting. So helps in coordination of the meeting proceedings, helps in coordination of the meeting, helps in coordination of the meeting, helps in coordination. So it will help in coordinating the meeting. It will help in coordinating the meeting. So number three is that it will also help in restraining participants. It helps in ensuring, in maintaining relevance of the meeting, helps in maintaining relevance, that whatever you are discussing is within what you're supposed to discuss, brings harmony and efficiency in the meeting, ensures efficiency and effectiveness of the meeting, and effectiveness of the meeting, ensures efficiency and effectiveness of the meeting. It also informs the chairperson and participants of the purpose of the meeting, informs the chair and the participants, informs the chair and participants of the purpose of the meeting, informs the chair and participants of the purpose of the meeting. So it keeps them focused, keeps the meeting in focus. It keeps the meeting in focus. So it keeps the meeting in focus. So we are looking at the past paper questions. And then another question that was in May 2016, question 5A, is types of minutes. I'm only going to focus on the questions that we did not, because there are other questions that I can see, but we've already covered in our notes. So types of minutes. So issues that we've not covered are the ones that I'm going to focus, to give more focus. So types of minutes, write that subtopic, types of minutes. So when you talk about types of minutes, and when you talk about types of minutes, these are the types of minutes. One, we have minutes of resolutions, and record decisions reached and the actions to be. So it records resolutions actively passed. Records resolutions actively passed. So that's what we mean by minutes of resolutions. Number two, we have minutes of narration. We have minutes of narration. And what do we mean by minutes of narration? It contains everything. Minutes do as well as discussion which leads to actions decided upon. So records everything, or narrations made in the meeting. It records all narrations made in the meeting. So even if we said that meetings should contain only the resolutions actively passed. However, there are those meetings where we record everything that was said in that meeting in narrative form. It records those narrations in narrative form. So even where people did not agree, it records that people did not agree on A, B, C, D. Though the best practice is that we should record all the resolutions actively passed, that we should record the resolutions actively passed. And then minutes of verbatim. Minutes of verbatim. And what do we mean by minutes of verbatims? So records proceedings, word by word, records proceedings word by word, as the records proceedings word by word, without paraphrasing statements, without paraphrasing statements. So you find that with the narration, we do paraphrasing. The narratives here, we are paraphrasing the statements. Is that clear? But in verbatim, we are not going to paraphrase the what? We are not going to paraphrase the narratives. We are not going to paraphrase the contributions made by members. So we are not going to paraphrase the contributions made by members. But when it comes to the verbatim, we can change the state. We do not, in the verbatim, we do not change the statements as said by the participants. We proceed on to look at another question. We also need to know the roles of the secretary. Roles of the secretary. And what are the roles of the secretary in the meeting? What are the roles of the secretary in the meeting? One, we may look at the roles of the secretary. He's the one to send notices. Is that true? To ensure said notices to members. So this one he's going to do before the meeting. Said notices to members before the meeting. Organize for the venue of 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 the meeting. And then he's also the one to draft the notices alongside with the chair, or together with the chairman. He's also the one to take minutes during the meeting, taking of minutes during the meeting, taking of minutes during the meeting. So he's the one to take the minutes during the meeting. Then he's also the one to advise the chairman on any compliance matters during the meeting. Advise the chair on any compliance matters during the meeting. He's also the one to communicate to relevant persons on resolutions passed during the meeting. Communicate to relevant persons on resolutions passed during the meeting. He's also the one to draft the agenda of the meeting. In consultation with the chairman. He's also the one, after taking the minutes, to keep the custody. Keeps the custody of the minutes. Keeps the custody of the minutes. Keeps the custody of the minutes. So he's the one to keep the custody of the minutes. So those are some of the roles of the secretary. Those are some of the roles of the secretary. So we proceed on to look at, there's this question, conference meetings, purpose of conference meetings. So we had looked at the contents of the notice of the meeting. It's a question that was tested in November 2017. Question 6B, it was tested, and we said the contents of the notice of the meeting, we said there is the venue, there is the time of the meeting, there is the subject, which is the same as the agenda, there is the date of the meeting, day of the meeting. And then we proceed on to look at the conference meetings, advantages and disadvantages. So write conference meetings, advantages and disadvantages. Conference meetings, advantages and disadvantages. So we are going to look at the conference meetings, and then we need to understand when we do conference meetings, we may do it electronically, we may do it physically. We may do a teleconferencing meeting across the world. So for instance, if the company is across the world, then we may do this conference meeting across the world through electronic means. We may also do it physically. So we are going to look at conference meetings, and we discuss the advantages and disadvantages of conference meetings. We discuss the advantages and disadvantages of conference meetings. And number one is that one of the advantages of conference meetings is that can be held by persons across different regions, when it is electronic, So can be held by persons across different regions when it is electronic. And number two, another advantage is that it enhances organizations, image. And then useful in dissemination of information, It's also cost effective, and it's also time saving. You don't have to come all the way from America so that you hold a meeting. We can also hold the meeting virtually. Is that true? Indeed, what we are saying is that what are the purpose of even virtual meetings or teleconferencing meetings? When you talk of virtual meetings, is where we are holding meetings virtually. That is through electronic means, maybe through Skype, through Zoom, through Google Meet. Is that okay? And you also need to know tools of holding virtual meetings. We are going to look at that. So maybe let's first of all look at the advantages. These are advantages of teleconferencing or conference meetings. Let's look at the disadvantages or limitations. What are the limitations of holding virtual meetings? What are the limitations of holding virtual meetings? When you talk about the disadvantages or limitations of holding virtual meetings, one is the technology failure. For instance, I'm holding a virtual meeting with entrepreneurship and communication students. At times we have technology failing us. Is that true? And canceling classes. So technology failure. At times, they also require ICT expertise. Yeah, so requires ICT expertise, ACT expertise. And you'll find that there are people who are not well versed on matters to do with ICT. In one way or the other, they are expensive. Is that clear? You need bundles, you need all that. Expensive, even though they are cost friendly. They are cost effective because if like we are holding a meeting with people in America, in UK, it's going to be cost effective because it will save them that cost of transport and all that. But then if you are holding that meeting, sometimes it's expensive because you need the internet cost, you need a laptop, a good laptop, you need something, a good camera. Is that clear? And therefore, you find that expensive, you need camera, you need laptop, you need internet, among others. So that one makes it costly. It makes it costly. It makes it costly. And then it also lacks interpersonal touch, lacks interpersonal touch, lacks interpersonal touch. Can I add more advantage? Useful. You find that during this period of COVID-19, where people cannot be able to meet physically, then we can be able to hold what? Virtual meetings. For instance, I'm having a meeting with all students of entrepreneurship. So useful when it is impractical to hold physical meetings, e.g. due to COVID-19. It has become difficult for people to meet physically. Even the government has banned people to meet physically. So therefore, when it comes to virtual meetings, people are able to meet and discuss issues. Another thing that I would like us to look at is a question that was also tested sometimes back, that is committee meetings. Let's look at committee meetings. So when you talk about committee meetings, we have committee, a given class, a given selected few within the bigger group having meetings. And when you talk about committees meetings, different types of committees include committees meetings. Spell the word committee rightly, double M, double T, and double E. So committee meetings. Types of committees, we need to look at types of committees. Which types of committees do we have? One, we have executive committee. We have executive committee. And an executive committee has the powers to make decisions. So it has the powers to make decisions, For instance, talk about the cabinet secretary, cabinet meetings, e.g. cabinet meetings. Chaired by who? Who chairs the cabinet meetings? I want to know who chairs the cabinet meetings? The president. The president is the one who chairs the cabinet meetings. And the meeting is made up of the cabinet secretaries and the head of the public service, or the secretary to the cabinet who takes minutes. He's the one who takes minutes. Whatever decisions they make are implemented. They have the power to make decisions and they must be implemented. Is that clear? Now, the second type of committee we have are advisory committees. Advisory committees. And when you talk about advisory committee, made up of experts, or persons made up of experts or persons representing different groups, representing different groups, representing different groups, different groups. Their roles is to advise. Their roles is to advise. So advisory committee, their roles is to advise. For instance, we have some president advisor on matters to do with education, another one advisor in matters to do with health, another one in regard to environment. They meet, but they don't have the decision-making authority. They only advise who? The president and the cabinet. So their role is to advise. And then we have standing committee, standing committee, standing committee. And when we talk about the standing committee, what do you mean by standing committee? It is permanent in nature, and it is permanent in nature. It is permanent in nature. It is permanent in nature. So this committee is permanent in nature. So it is not created for a short period, but it is a committee that is permanent in nature. Then we have ad hoc committee, ad hoc committee, ad hoc committee, and this is temporary in nature. It's temporary in nature, temporary in nature. For instance, we have a committee called National Emergency Response Team, NERT, National Emergency Response Team, that is responding on matters to do with COVID-19. So it's the one that is advising, it's the one that is even giving us updates every day. It's the one that is giving us updates every day on matters to do with COVID-19. That is National Emergency Response Committee, National Emergency Response Committee, NERC. This committee, once COVID-19 diminishes, then this committee its task will come to an end. Is that true? So that committee is ad hoc committee. We can note this about the ad hoc committee. It's constituted for a specific period of time, constituted for a specific period of time, for a specific purpose, It is constituted for a specific period of time, for a specific purpose, Upon completion, the committee is dissolved. Upon completion, the committee is dissolved. The committee is dissolved. Upon completion, the committee is dissolved. Upon completion, the committee is dissolved. Then we have line and staff committee. So note that these ones are related. Executive committee and advisory. Is that true? Executive has the power to make what? Decisions. Advisory does not have the power to make decisions. It only does what? Advises. We have standing and ad hoc committee. Are they not related? Standing is permanent, ad hoc is temporary. So we can look at number 5 and 6, which is line committee. Line committee. And when you talk about the line committee, is that the line committee has the powers to take decisions with regard. So the line committee has the power to take decisions with regard to the employees who are responsible. So it has the authority to make decisions, within an organization. It is made up of the line staff. It is made up of the line staff. The staff committee staff committee. The staff committee, it's an advisory committee that appraises the management of the views of the employees. It's advisory committee that appraises management, of decisions of the employees, So it appraises management of decisions of employees. So then finally we have formal and informal. So these ones are related. Formal and informal committees. Formal and informal committees. Formal and informal committees. So formal committees is formally formed in writing. So formal committee. It's formally formed. Formally formed. And its duties and responsibilities, are clearly stipulated. Whereas informal committees, they are not formally formed. Informal committees not formally formed. Then let's look at advantages of committees. A question that was in May 2016. Advantages of committees. So let's look at the advantages of having committees. And one of the advantages is provide expertise. There is expertise. E.g., advisory committees. You find that even in Parliament, because we're also studying business law, we said that after the bill is read for the second reading, remember the first reading without debate, and the second reading there is debate. It's then referred to what? To the committee. It goes to the committee stage. Number two is that helps to save time saving. In other words, committee moves with a lot of speed. It's cost, it's time saving. Another thing is that promotes coordination. So there is proper coordination. Among the committee members, and then promotes contribution from all members. From all members. Because committee is made up of few members who can, each of them has the opportunity to help in ensuring that every member is contributing towards the ideas, and then quick response to issues. And then it's also cost saving. So when you have a committee, there is that aspect of cost saving, and then there is dedication and commitment. Dedication and commitment. Dedication and commitment. When you have a committee to look into specific issues of the company, there is that aspect of dedication. There is that aspect of dedication. But let's look at the disadvantages of having committees. Disadvantages of having committees. Note the allowances that you'll have to give to those committee members. Is that true? You have to give them allowances. What else? What else do they need? At times, there is also slow decision making. Why? Because you find that before they make the decision themselves, and then the decision is approved. So it slows the decision making process. So one is that they may be expensive due to allowances. Disadvantages of committees. Disadvantages of committees. One is that they are expensive, e.g. attendance allowances, attendance allowances. Number two, delays in decision making, delays in decision making. And number three, another disadvantage of abuse of power by committee members, abuse of authority by committee members, abuse of authority by committee members. Those are some of the limitations of holding committees. Those are some of the disadvantages of holding committees. So that one brings us to the end of the topic, meetings. Thank you.